Seriously?
Hey guys, so we've got some more 40k 9th edition news that's come in today on the Warhammer community site. So without further ado, we're just going to get straight into it. So we've got Warhammer 40,000 match play points and an app. So some interesting stuff here. We go through a little bit at the beginning, just talking about the playtesting and stuff, and introducing you to Mike, who is a man of some significance. He is a global events guru and one of their esteemed playtesters, apparently. And he says, "Hey everyone, today I'll be discussing some key matched play changes coming to Warhammer 40,000, missions and point values. Let's dive right in." So we start off with match play missions. A lot of work went into making the new missions the best ever. The Warhammer 40,000 rules team drew on all the feedback from the wider gaming community, playtesters and event organisers to ensure that each mission offers a fun, challenging experience with a fair chance of success for each player. There are two key elements I look for in a mission. One, does it tell a cool story? Or two, does it increase the odds of a close, fair, exciting game experience? The mission should not decide it for you, nor should a bad matchup guarantee a loss. Okay, so they are talking about addressing the balance and making the game more balanced. This is all sounding very promising so far. The new match play missions exemplify these principles in abundance. What's more, there are a lot of missions. They all share certain common elements while presenting unique challenges. It's hard to build one list to win them all. Each mission utilises bespoke deployment zones and primary objectives according to the number of points being used, creating a sensible story and intentional balance. For example, incursion missions are used for games of 1,000 points per side, while Strike Force missions cater for 2,000 point battles. Yet even though the missions each share a primary objective, the secondary objectives are asymmetrical and are actually chosen by the players themselves. The primary represents the shared story on the battlefield, while the secondaries represent your army's theme and help balance tough matchups. This is very cool. This got me excited when I read this. This is very interesting stuff. So when we play the missions, we've got our primary mission, like we always have, but then each player also has a secondary objective, which they choose themselves, and they go into that in a little bit more depth in a moment. But I love this. Like they say, sometimes you can play missions, especially as orc players, you can play missions and some of the objectives seem counter to what your faction or army is all about. And I don't know, for example, orcs, you would tend to go more for destruction and aggressive tactics, for the most part anyway, rather than sort of taking key objectives and stuff. Although they wouldn't be against that sort of thing, but you know, you get what I'm saying. So we could scroll down. So we've got our different battle sizes here listed. We've got combat patrol, I like it, with a 500 points limit with 3 command points. And then we go to incursion, strike force and onslaught, which all go up 500, 1000, 2000 and 3000. And you can see the amount of command points each player is going to start the game with. And I'm getting a good feeling about this already. The more little bits they reveal, it just sounds like, geez, this is sounding really good. Anyone who watches the channel for a while will know I'm a big fan of 8th, but so far everything they've said about 9th just sounds better. I mean, this all remains to be seen. So in a 2,000 point game, which is a lot of people's regular sort of size game, Strike Force, 2,000 points, you get 12 command points, which is not too shabby. But let's read on anyway. Are you running a sneaky Raven Guard army? Choose secondaries that score victory points for planting homing beacons or infiltrating the enemy's deployment zones. World Eaters focus on secondaries that reward reaping skulls for corn, not standing on objectives. This enables an overall mission that makes sense for your army's theme, but also improves balance Not equipped to kill those paladins? Choose secondaries focused on manoeuvre. Are the paladins yours? But frustratingly can't be everywhere at once. Focus on destroying your opponent's army or completing a psychic ritual. There are numbers of categories of secondary objectives you may choose from pre-game. Blah-de-blah-de-blah. We'll have a look at this. So take a look at some examples. And then there'll be some, don't worry, it says we'll see faction-specific ones in the future. Okay, so I'm about to go over some of these secondary objectives that we've got to choose from, but there are more to be revealed and faction-specific ones in the future. So I imagine this is going to be a new addition to the codexes we'll be getting through 9th edition, that they will have secondary objectives and stuff within the codex. I imagine that's probably how they're going to do it, and in campaign books and the such. So, secondary objectives. When you're instructed to select a secondary objective, you can select from any presented here, in addition to any secondary objectives listed on the mission you are playing. Okay, so we've got some tailor-made for the mission as well, that's cool. You can score no more than 15 victory points from each secondary objective you select during the mission. Any excess victory points awarded are discounted. Each secondary objective listed below has a category, e.g. purge the enemy. When you select secondary objectives, you cannot choose more than one from each category. Okay, so it looks like you'll be selecting several secondary objectives. I guess that's going to depend on the size of the mission and the mission being played. So we've got some examples here. Purge the enemy, assassinate, endgame objective. Score 3 victory points at the end of the battle for each enemy character model that is destroyed. Self-explanatory, that one. No mercy, no respite. Thin their ranks. End game objective. If you select this objective, keep a tally of kill points. Each time an enemy model is destroyed, add 1 to this tally. Add 10 to this tally instead if the model that was, and it fades off there. So you can see they're fading off, so that there's more detail to go with these objectives and some conditions and stuff. But this no mercy, no respite, thin their ranks, this is going to be amazing for anyone fighting against a horde. Because it doesn't say unit, it says model. Each time an enemy model is destroyed, add 1 to this tally. Ooh. So yeah, that's going to be, so us Orc players, we're probably going to have this one used against us a lot, especially if we're running hordes of boys and grots and whatnot. If they're getting like points and stuff for every model destroyed, whew, that's going to make a big difference to their overall score. We've got Battlefield Supremacy. Engage on all fronts. Score 2 victory points at the end of your turn if you have 1 or more units from your army wholly within 3 different table quarters. This is one for the biker armies, I think, and the mobile armies. Fast-moving forces are going to do very well on this, and this is scoring points at the end of each turn as well, so that's going to be good, especially if the primary objective is taking table quarters or taking hold of what are they called now? The points, jeez, I can't even think today. You know what I mean. You probably don't. Objectives. There we go. Wake up, Stevo. So yes, if you're going around the board anyway, taking objectives, this is going to be great for you because you're going to be there anyway. So some of these, you could think about these quite well, and I think these secondary objectives are going to make big difference to you, how well you do in the game, choosing these wisely. We've got one here that sounds like it's right up Thousand Suns alley. Warpcraft, mental interrogation, progressive objective. Score 3 victory points each time you successfully complete the following psychic action. Mental interrogation, psychic action, warp charge 4. So that sounds like that goes on further to give you that psychic power if you choose that secondary objective. So that's quite an interesting one. So I imagine that psychic power won't actually do anything within the game, like it won't cause any wounds or have any negative effects on the enemy, but it will score you a load of points because you're basically getting inside their head and getting all the information you want. So yeah, that sounds very interesting one, that one. Next one, Shadow Operations. Investigate sites, another progressive objective. Score 3 victory points each time a unit from your army successfully completes the following action. Investigate site, action, 1 infantry unit excluding. Okay, so yeah, that's interesting because it doesn't really tell us a whole lot. You score 3 victory points if you investigate a site. Sounding like it has to be 1 infantry unit, so I don't know, a piece of terrain or something, then you investigate it to see if it's where the secret information is kept or the files you're trying to access, I guess. But yeah, sounds very interesting. It's great. There's a lot of difference here. You've got, you know, the assassinate ones, thinning the ranks, taking control of the battlefield, psychic interrogation, then you've got investigative ones. Really, like they've said, it sounds like there's something there to fit your army no matter what its sort of lore or fluff is or the theme you've gone for, which is really cool. It sounds like games are going to be a lot more dynamic and a lot more interesting and sort of tailored towards you. This gives us a whole lot of other stuff to think about. Very cool. The article goes on to say the new edition also adds actions to Warhammer 40,000. Traditionally, your models could either stand near objectives or shoot/punch. No longer. Now you can perform rituals, plant homing beacons, raise banners on key objectives, and more. This creates dynamic moments where you may need to decide between firing at the enemy or bravely accomplishing a mission. I like the sound of this. I do like the sound of this. Another new feature is a cap on victory points you can earn from each mission element. This makes for closer, more exciting games. In the past, a slower starting army, I won't read that whole bit, but it's basically saying that someone way in the lead, smashing through objectives, gaining loads of victory points, there will be a cap on that. So they can't completely dominate the game from the opening turns, which I think is a positive thing. I think if you're doing that well anyway, you're probably winning the game by the time that comes into effect anyway. But closer games are more interesting and more fun, and so this does sound like, all these things sound like they're sort of readdressing the balance and tipping things back there. And then we've got an example of a mission: Eternal War, Strike Force, the 4 Pillars. So we've had 4 pillars before, but it sounds like they are making a lot of changes here. So let's look into this one. This is the 3rd mission of the Eternal War missions. And it goes, mission briefing: ancient alien pillars that crackle with distorting energies dominate the battlefield. This sounds like this is Necrons. If their power can be siphoned off, you will gain a significant resource to use against your foes. Mission rules: the pillars. In this mission, reinforcement units cannot be set up within range of any objective markers. Makes sense. Primary objectives. Victory points are awarded for controlling objective markers as follows. Taken hold. Progressive. There's that word coming up again. So they're putting that on the different mission objectives to tell you sort of what type of objective it is. Do you score it each turn? Do you score it at the end of the game? At the end of each player's command phase, new phase as well, I think that's further on in the article. We'll go into that in a minute. The player whose turn it is scores 5 victory points for each of the following conditions they satisfy, for a maximum of 15 victory points. They control 1 or more objective markers. They control 2 or more objective markers. They control more objective markers than their opponent controls. This primary objective cannot be scored in the first battle round. Okay, secondary objectives. In this mission, when the players are selecting their secondary objectives, they can, if they wish, choose for one of them to be siphon power below. So here we go, is an example of another one, a mission exclusive one. If you select this objective, units in your army can perform the following action. 1 or more units from your army can start to perform this action at the end of your movement phase. Each unit that starts to perform this action must be within range of a different objective marker. A unit cannot start this action while any enemy units, excluding aircraft, there's some of their aircraft fixes coming in there, are in range of the same objective marker. This action is completed at the end of your next command phase, and you score a number of victory points depending on how many units completed this action this phase. as shown in the table below. So if you did 1, you get 1. If you did 2, you get 3 victory points, and it goes up. And if you manage to do all 4 of them, you get 10 victory points. So yeah, pretty cool. So I guess, and then we've got showing the player A and player B deployment zones, and the objectives there, 10 inches apart. Sounds, it looks very interesting indeed. The community may see familiar principles in these missions, but a host of refinements and new innovations herald an exciting future. We may also see broader adoption of a common set of exciting, balanced, narratively fulfilling missions at events around the world, something the community's desired for years. Yes, it has. And you appear to be listening. Points values. This bit I'm excited about, actually, and this is quite funny. Actually, I read this because it was only just within the last couple of days I was thinking of making a video talking about this very point. But let's go into it further. Finally, as part of developing the new edition, points values were reviewed and have been adjusted up across every faction. This may sound odd at first, but it yields several benefits. Firstly, games will play faster with, generally speaking, smaller armies on either side. This also makes starting a fresh army for the new edition a more accessible, quicker experience. It also means there's room for more granularity when establishing how powerful one unit or ability is compared to another, and a global points reset ensures everyone starts in the same place on day 1 with no established meta or best army. Here are a couple of examples so you can see what to expect. So we've got Intercessor Squad, 5 to 10 models in a unit, 20 points a model. Now I'm not sure what they were, points of Intercessors were originally, but I think that's gone up. Otherwise I doubt they'd have bothered listing it here. And Chaos Cultists models in the unit, 10 to 30, 6 points a model. Now I believe they were 5 points a model. I think they might have gone down to 4 points a model at some point. Now, I'm sure in the comment section people that know will be correcting me. I don't know. I mostly do orcs. But yeah, so I think they've both gone up, basically. And like they said, I'm annoyed I didn't make that video a little while ago now. I was going to do a video talking about how everything should go up in points, because everything keeps dropping and dropping and dropping and dropping, which may sound great at first, but like they say, it's far more difficult at the lower end of the point scale to have a visible, substantial difference between two units that are fairly low in points, because if Space Marines keep coming down and down in points, the difference between a Space Marine and an Orc in terms of points is very minimal, but the difference in stats can be quite substantial. Now, going way back, I remember when like an Orc boy was, like a Necron Warrior, for example, was 18 points way back in 3rd edition, and an Orc boy was 7 points. So the differences were quite substantial in terms of points. But some of the more powerful stuff has continued to drop and drop and drop. But you can't drop something like a Grot that had pretty much always been 3 points. You could drop them to 2 points, but at some point there's a ceiling. You can't go any lower, and you want to be able to represent those differences. So I think it's great that they're doing this, and also it makes the games smaller, which is not an issue. If you like big games, you can just up your points and carry on playing away. But I think this is a good thing, because especially the last chapter approved, I think we had big points drops across the whole game virtually. Barely anything went up. And I think this was coming, and at the start of a new edition, I think it's the right time to do it. And I think this is a really positive move. You're going to be able to just get much more difference between those lower end things. Things at higher points, vehicles and stuff, it didn't really affect. But with our grunt units and our troops and stuff, it's quite hard to sort of balance the game when things like Space Marines and tougher, more elite troop units keep dropping in points, but things like Orc boys and stuff just stay the same. it's clearly pushing the balance in their favour. So I think this is good. It'll be interesting to see what the new points of everything is. I imagine things like boys and stuff probably will go up. I hope my grots don't go up. I hope they stay at 3 points. And then we got new edition, new app. On the same day that the Warhammer 40,000 pre-orders go live, a new app will be launched alongside it, providing several cool features to help you, including a full matched play army builder. About damn time, GW. Jeez, been asking for this for ages. The new app will do a number of things to assist players with their games, but one of the most useful will be the ability to build up army lists using the updated points values and detachments. We'll have more on the Warhammer 40,000 app soon, so watch this space. Oh, geez, I hope that app works from day one. I know what it's like with apps and stuff, sometimes teething problems and things and patches and things that have to happen, but let's hope not. But yeah, this is, again, it's more news. Each time Games Workshop are giving us more news, it just fills me with more and more confidence in this new edition. It's sounding really, really promising. These new missions, the secondary objectives, it sounds like they bring in balance, which is great. Anything that continues to balance the game and keep it level so both players are having fun is good in my book. It's given it a more narrative twist, which is great because, contrary to popular belief, people that play match play games, a lot of them, probably not speaking for all of them, but a lot of us do still like story in our game. Even though we're playing match play does not mean we're just power hungry gamers after smashing everyone. We might want that, but we still want a bit of story to go along with it as well. So this is great that they're acknowledging that, and that they're not doing away with points. Don't even want to joke about that. But yeah, it's great. There's so much I think to be pleased about in here. The secondary objectives, they just sound fantastic. It sounds like it's going to add a lot more fun. I'm still intrigued to see how this new command points thing is going to work. That we start off with command points, and will it be a case of like on a 2,000 point game you get 12 command points. So will this be a case that each detachment will cost you, or will you get your first detachment free? Or if you fill out a certain type of detachment, would that be free, and then maybe more specialised ones you've got to pay for? Or do you only have to pay for detachments if you're getting a second detachment or a third detachment? I think if you're having to pay straight off the bat for any detachment, that's kind of reducing your command points straight away. So I don't know, I feel like your first detachment will be free, and then you'll pay like 1 command point for each one after that, but we shall have to wait and see. But I think it sounds promising, it sounds good, it sounds like we're going to go back a bit, or at least encourage players more to build a proper army that includes troops, and is not just spamming characters or spamming elites or heavy support. And it just sounds very interesting. And it's going to address the balance with some factions finding it really easy to fill out cheap detachments just to spam command points. Hell, I do it myself with my grots. I will regularly just squeeze in a couple more 10-man units of grots to fill out another battalion detachment, throw in some cheap HQ there, just to spam the hell and get as many command points as I can get my grubby little mitts on. So I'll no longer be able to do that. I'll have to spend wisely and be a bit more cautious about it. But I think it's good. I think that's a positive move, because some factions, especially the more expensive ones, have a real hard time getting command points. And so yeah, this is going to be really, really interesting. And yeah, it all just sounds brilliant. There's nothing there that fills me with fear or trepidation. It all just sounds very good. So yeah, what do you think, guys? Please share your comments down below. I'd love to hear what you think of this. Are you excited for this new edition? And do these rules... My hat's gone all funny there. Has it been like that all video? Do these new rules excite you? Do you think it sounds like it's going to be more balanced, more fluffy, and more fun? Personally, I do. And this is coming from a fan of 8th. And yeah, so there we go. But for now, guys, like I say, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, and share your thoughts and your comments down below. I try and respond to every comment when I possibly can. I usually do. I like to think I respond to everyone who comments on my videos. But anyway, guys, for now, Until further news comes, this is 6 Plus Stevo, signing out.